I'm Joe Catalano with an AM Quincy news update for Wednesday, July 29th. The North Quincy branch of the Bank of America is closed after a fire yesterday. The blaze broke out in a maintenance closet of the building at 440 Hancock Street at about 8:30 yesterday morning. Interim Quincy Fire Chief Gary Smith said firefighters were met with heavy smoke and fire and were able to douse the blaze as it was extending into the ceiling and wall. Now, Smith says the building sustained fire, water, and smoke damage. One firefighter was treated for heat exhaustion at South Shore Hospital. The two-story building also houses a dental office and insurance agency. Smith says the cause of the fire is under investigation by their department and the state fire marshal. Bank of America also has branches in Quincy Center and an ATM on Southern Artery. Tonight's Wally Beach Wednesday concert on Wollaston Beach in Quincy has been canceled due to the forecast for rain. The band called Trouble was scheduled to perform classics and blues rock. The Quincy Chamber of Commerce canceled the concert yesterday due to the weather and asked spectators to come to next Wednesday's concert, which will feature DeVry, Boston's Irish band. The Wednesday concerts will conclude on August 26th. Quincy is getting some state funding to make some traffic improvements. State Senator John Keenan of Quincy says the city is receiving grant funding from the local bottleneck reduction program to make improvements to the traffic signals at the intersection of Bergen Parkway and Center Street near the Quincy Adams T Station. Keenan says the city is also receiving over $578,000 from the Shared Streets and Spaces program for construction funding to make improvements to plazas, sidewalks, curbs, streets, bus stops, parking areas, and other public spaces. City of Quincy will be getting about $73 million in state aid from the recently approved state budget. State Senator John Keenan says Quincy's portion of local aid increased by $2.2 million this year. $49 million will go toward the Quincy Public Schools and $24 million in unrestricted local aid for the city to use as it sees fit. The budget also includes $50,000 for the Quincy Fire Department to update its communications system and $54,000 for senior programs at the Quincy Council on Aging. A bicyclist has died after being struck by a car on Route 138 in Stoughton yesterday morning. The Norfolk County DA's office says the collision occurred around 5 a.m. in the area of 1378 Washington Street, which is Route 138. The bicyclist has been identified by the DA's office as 39-year-old Mark Salvador of Stoughton. He was found on the ground by responding Stoughton police officers and transported to a Boston hospital. He was pronounced dead about an hour later. The crash remains under investigation. It's unclear if the driver of the vehicle will face any charges. No further information was immediately available. The jury in the murder trial of Lindsay Clancy will tour the home where the Duxbury mother is accused of killing her 3 children in 2023, according to a ruling issued by the judge yesterday. The current owners of the Duxbury home did not want the jurors inside the property, but Judge William Sullivan, who is presiding over the case, ordered them to allow access to the premises for purpose of a view by the jury. Under the order, access is limited to prosecutors and defense attorneys, Clancy, the judge, jurors, and necessary court staff. The order states that no one else will be allowed on the premises while the parties are there. Jurors and the other authorized parties may look at the exterior of the home as well as the basement and all rooms on the first and second floors. No one can touch any items or open any closets or doors. The state police and Duxbury police will secure the property before the 12 women and 6 men on the jury arrive. In her opening statements, Plymouth County Assistant DA Shannon Buckingham said the children were strangled meticulously and that Clancy understood her actions and made a deliberate choice. In his opening statements, defense attorney Kevin Reddington said his client knows she killed her children, but questioned what was going on in Clancy's mind. Patrick Clancy will return to the stand today when the trial resumes in Plymouth Superior Court. The future of Norwood Hospital could hinge on action from the state Senate this week as lawmakers consider a bill that would grant the state eminent domain authority over the hospital property in an effort to address what local officials call a growing public health emergency. The proposed legislation would allow the state to take control of the property and potentially accelerate efforts to reopen the hospital, which has remained closed since severe flooding forced its shutdown 6 years ago. Norwood's town manager, Tony Mazzucco, said every day the hospital remains closed puts area residents at greater risk during medical emergencies. Mazzucco said the loss of the hospital has had a significant impact on residents in Norwood and surrounding communities, including Walpole, Canton, Westwood, and Dedham. He also said emergency departments throughout the region are experiencing increased demand because of the hospital's closure. Medical Properties Trust, which owns the Norwood Hospital property, said it remains committed to reopening the facility and believes it can do so without the state taking ownership. A company spokesperson says the company has invested more than $350 million to rebuild about 75% of the hospital, excluding insurance proceeds, and is prepared to work with the state to complete the project. Local leaders, however, contend that transferring the property to the state through eminent domain would allow the hospital to reopen more quickly. If the eminent domain bill passes the Senate by the end of the week, it would still require the governor's signature before becoming law. If lawmakers do not approve the legislation before the current legislative session ends, supporters say it could take another year for a similar bill to advance, unless the property owner reaches an agreement sooner. As Massport celebrates the success of the first of its kind Logan Airport remote terminal pilot program in Framingham, there is talk of bringing the same experience to more locations in Massachusetts. The agency said on Tuesday that the Framingham remote terminal has welcomed 10,000 passengers since it opened on June 1st, and as a result, the program is being extended through at least March. The remote terminal allows travelers to avoid TSA security lines in Boston by getting screened in Framingham instead, then boarding a secure bus for straight-to-gate service at Logan. The officials say there are plans for a permanent remote terminal facility in Braintree because, like Framingham, it's already home to a Logan Express bus service. Construction will start this fall on a new parking garage at the site that will include a remote terminal, although it's still a couple of years from opening. North of the city, Massport's looking at Logan Express sites in Woburn and Danvers as possible remote terminal locations. And in Boston, officials say there have been conversations with the Mass Convention Center Authority about adding a remote terminal at the Heinz Convention Center in the Back Bay or the Menino Convention and Exhibition Center in the Seaport. Massport says it's made improvements to the Framingham remote terminal since the opening, including working with TSA to open the security line earlier and adding coffee machines. Check of business news this morning. Stocks are mixed. The Dow was up 537 points. The Nasdaq dropped 55. The S&P rose 15. Asian stocks are mixed. The dollar was down. The euro rose. Oil at $84 a barrel. In sports, the A's beat the Red Sox on the West Coast last night 4-3. The series continues tonight at 9:40. Forecast from the National Weather Service. Today, rain could be heavy at times, a high of 74 degrees. The rain continues tonight, lows in the mid-60s. Tomorrow, scattered showers at a high of 70. Cloudy on Friday, maybe a spot shower, high Friday, 80 degrees. Saturday, partly cloudy, high of 85. The marine forecast calling for 2 to 3 foot waves, winds southeast 10 to 15, and then increasing with gusts to 25 knots. There is a small craft advisory in effect. High tide 12:11 this afternoon. Sunrise at 5:33, sets at 8:06. I'm Joe Catalano with an AM Quincy news update for Wednesday, July 29th.